Right here in the United States, there are so many communities and areas that are very unchurched, that have very little in the way of ways to reach people for the gospel and to let them know about Christ's love.
Most people go with a little trepidation and a little fear, just trusting God to use them wherever they are. This happened to be a request from a church to help them in Bellingham, and we found that God was active there and needed us to be available.
It was very enlightening for me to go. It was my first mission trip I've ever been on, and it was interesting to find out that within the United States we went to such an unchurched area.
We went to help the kids that were there and to do a mission trip with regard to their community to help them, but we also went to support their staff and to help their church grow in some areas that they had a vision to grow in, and they needed a little kickstart to do that.
One day in the afternoon, we decided to all go out into the community and talk with people and tell them about the arts festival that was going on at the church. And we went all over this community, knocking on doors and looking at these wonderful old houses that were built in the 1800s.
In the morning, the group that we took up there from First Baptist did the Fine Arts Academy. So we did the strings classes and the media things, the drama, the music, and that sort of thing, the crafts.
We had worked all week in the different areas, them learning some new things that they'd never tried before. Some of them played instruments, and that was the very first time. We worked on a little musical, did that every afternoon. They learned all these songs. Some of them learned dances and signs and movement to different things. It was just a way to present the Bible in a non-threatening way in that area.
I think they did. I think the video part let some of them who wanted to be acting to do their part, and I will always remember as a Colleen, she just seemed to really take to some of that.
But I think underlying it all is we shared the gospel of Jesus Christ. Everything we did had something to do with teaching the children about Jesus and then helping them to let their parents know that there's more to it than art, there's more to it than music, there's more to it than recreation.
When we did the walkthrough on the construction jobs and the maintenance stuff, we found out that the fellow from the church was going to have to work that week, who would have normally coordinated all the activities. So I got it.
Members actually did the maintenance for the church. They had a list of things they wanted to accomplish while we were there. Well, as it turned out, we accomplished that list in about 2 days, and they had to get another list.
The nice thing about the entire week was whatever needed to be done is what we did.
Well, it was more work than I expected, but it was also more fun than I expected, and I got a lot out of it.
I think we started with 23 children and went up to 32 the second or third day. And of course, that told you right away, the first day spoke to the children, and they brought their friends.
One way just to reach them is just to love them. And like one of the emails that we received, the parent was so overwhelmed, and it really ministered to her by just how much we loved on her daughter.
But watching Barry working with the children, and of course all children aren't easy to work with, I was amazed at his ability. They are such wonderful leaders, they are such wonderful Christians, and they are just such wonderful people to spend a whole week with.
Kids like to be around people that accept them and love them. A child never ever gets enough of that attention.
It was amazing to me how attached I could get to somebody else's kids in just a week's time.
Some of the kids were just so much fun to be around, and they really blessed me.
There was a little boy named Tristan that just kind of, I took to right from the start. He was one of the very first kids that showed up, and played games with him early in the morning and kind of guided him through the week.
I can still see Brandon's face. I can still see that shrug of his shoulders, that defiant, I don't care attitude. But at the end, I can also see when the musical and the dramatization was over, I saw a look on that little boy's face I'll never forget.
And that's their touch with the church. Some of them, the very first touch they had, that they found out that there are people that really love them, that aren't out for something, that aren't trying to charge them an arm and a leg, but just love their children and want to love them.
You know, one kid had a bad stuttering problem, and he got up there and did drama, and it took him a while, but he spit it out, and it was just a neat thing to see him have the courage to get up there and do that.
And even though he had a little bit of difficulty, he did it. He overcame his own personal adversity to do what he knew he wanted to do and what he needed to do to make this program a success. I thought, yeah, it's making a difference.
I had an absolute riot of a time. I really, truly, this trip was one of the blessings in belonging in the church.
Everybody ought to go on one and see what they're like. Probably go on a lot of them after that.
And I think for the first time in my adult life, I began to understand that servanthood was what he calls us to do, not to humiliate us, but to teach us the pure joy of serving him.